This is episode 41 of the Arts Academy podcast with Victor Varnado and Roxxy Haze. How to execute a spec script with special guest Drea, Andie, Bolt.
This is the Arts Academy podcast brought to you by the New York Alt Arts Academy. I am Dean Victor Varnado, and this is Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze. Haze Mistress.
Haze Mistress.
And ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest today is Drea Bolt. She is a producer, she is a writer, she is a comedian, she is a lot of things.
Drea.
She's the best. All right. I'm sorry. What did you say, Drea?
I said, I'll take it.
Now, what we're going to talk about today is spec scripts. Now, if you don't know what spec script is, let's just break that down really quick. Spec stands for speculation.
Stands for no money.
Yes, it also stands for no money. Spec or speculation scripts are scripts that the industry will usually ask writers to show that they know how to write or to pitch their story idea through script form. Always, spec scripts mean no money. It has become synonymous with meaning no money. If somebody says spec script to you, they're asking you to write for no money, period. And I'm not saying you should never write a spec script, but it's a decision. Anytime somebody asks you to write a spec script, it's a decision and consider it.
I think everybody needs a spec script. It's just write your own one. And then if you're going to write for other people, then that's the thing. But it's like last time I was in Connecticut, my Uber driver had a spec script. You know, everybody's got one. Exactly. So I do think spec scripts are such a great way to practice your writing, get your writing out there. And, you know, you should want to do it, but it is for free. So like do it from the heart. And if other people are asking you to work for free, like make sure it's something you really want to do, but you are speccing it.
Yeah, you're speccing it. In fact, I wrote a script for a movie that I knew was never going to be made. Okay. And in this case, when they asked me to write a spec script, I told them no, because I could tell this movie was never going to be made. There are some times when someone might ask you to write a spec script and you can be like, yes. For instance, if it was a producer whom I was personal friends with and we needed the script to be done so that we can actually get funded. Without a script, we weren't going to get funded. And I knew that they didn't have the resources, then maybe I would write a spec script for them. In this case, it was a movie that I knew that wasn't going to be made, but the person on the other end was Stan Lee. At this point, he was alive. Now, they asked me to write a spec script for Stan Lee.
Yeah.
But I was to co-write with Stan Lee, and the script would say written by Stan Lee and Victor Varnado. But the production company asked me to do it for spec. But there's no way I was going to write something with Stan Lee's name on it first that he writes zero of. When you're working with someone as like Stan Lee, like a person like as big as Stan Lee, what might happen is they will give you a page and a half of notes and you turn that into a 120-page script. That might happen. And their name still goes first, which is totally reasonable, except for the no money part. So when they asked me to write a spec script, I said no. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. You know, on one hand, I just think it's really funny that you turned down writing with Stan Lee. You're like, hell no.
No, I did write. They paid me.
Oh, you did write. Oh,
no, I wrote it.
Great.
I wrote it.
Great, but they paid
me. You know who else asked me to write a spec script? The Blue Man Group.
What?
You like that one?
The original Blue Men wanted to release like an IMAX movie. They asked me to write a spec script for them, and I was like, "You guys are the Blue Men, the original Blue Men. Like they never work a day in their life again." And I was like, "I'm not writing a spec script for you guys."
Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes.
So would you advise this for people that are just starting out? Because you're way more established. So like, would you suggest the same kind of...
I would advise you listen to what Drea just said. You definitely want to have a spec script for yourself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we used to be in a world where if you wanted to write for TV, you would pick your top 3 TV shows that were only 2 seasons in, and you would write an episode of one of those shows, and then your agent would send it out to the other sitcoms, not that sitcom, because if they wouldn't hire you off that script, sometimes they would buy script. That was once in a while. But really, you were just writing a script to show you could write other people's voices. You know how to tell a story. You can execute something. On occasion, there was the script there where somebody would buy it. And then, years ago, we shifted this place where everybody was like, okay, I need original voices. And now I've got a ton of great spec scripts, but now I don't know the difference. They're writing, they sound like me, but I need people to sound like themselves. And then original spec pilots became popular again, where people actually started to read them. And I always tell people, you need a sample, whether it is a half hour, a feature film, a short film, a web series. I don't care what it is. It is like, this is how you tell a story, and this is totally you on a page, and you can stand by it, because people are going to want to meet that person on the page, nowadays is like where we're at, because there's so many great writers now. There's enough people who know how to tell a story, and showrunners are like, I know how to format the episodes. I know how to make this show a show. I need voices. I need people to make this show sing, yeah. So that's why it's like, get yourself a spec that makes your voice sing. And then like Victor's saying, like, I wrote a script that people are like, this is never going to get made, but it's such my voice on the page that then people could see that like, oh, this would be $100 million and nobody spends that on comedies. But hey, this has puppets or whatever, but it was me on the page. And even though it was like R-rated, I was getting meetings at Disney to write shows for kids. It didn't matter, because they know that if you know how to be a storyteller, you can take out the F word and still, like people who work in kids, they just want to see who you are, I think.
Gotcha.
That's what specs are great for.
Your spec should be fun to read. If you can write a spec script that's fun to read, that'll take you so far. It just needs to have a great premise. It needs to have fun characters. Not even fun, because if it's dramatic, murderers, I guess, aren't that fun. But you want you want your script to sing with emotion, whatever that emotion may be, because when people are reading your spec script, what they usually want to know is they want to know that you can make them feel something, anything, and they want to know that you can write a script with a cohesive story from beginning to end. That's what they need to know when they're hiring somebody.
Yes to everything you're saying, Victor. People want to see that you know how to tell a story, that you bring, when I was first starting out in the industry, I got to write script coverage for American Work Inc. So these are like producers who did the Hangover movies and Elf and, Road Trip and stuff like that. And my job as the intern was to read the scripts that agents would send their production companies to consider making. And the filter they would ask me to go through was, does it have a voice? Do they have a voice? Like, they'll even forgive your formatting. They'll forgive that you don't know how to break an act or whatever when that's supposed to happen, if you really have a voice. And they would say, if you get 40 pages into a script and you're not super enjoying it, you don't have to read the rest of it. And then it's like in the hands of this little intern to then write coverage. And what I think decides if those people are going to read it or not, And I was like, this feels like a lot of pressure. I took it very seriously, but one of the things I learned there was this unique original script voice thing. They had not that everybody, it's like Shakespeare had his own voice. The girl who wrote Juno had her own original voice. And the great thing about being the WGA or just getting an internship where you can read scripts, like just read scripts. They're online now. But like every year they send you all the scripts that are nominated, but they send them to you like in a book format. And it's really interesting how like in Angelina Jolie's script, she had all kinds of stuff really bolded, that she wanted that was like telling her story the way she wanted her reader to be thinking certain things. And it's like, is that necessarily standard? No, but like, she's just like, this is what's important for me to articulate this story, and this is how I want to write it, you know? Or it was, I have no idea if that's what she was thinking, you know, but that's what it feels like. And yeah, I just said a lot of stuff. There you
go. Thank you. That's what you're here for.
Yeah. I can talk about it all day. You know, I really could talk about it all day, because it's like, people want to be beholden to a book. They want to read Save the Cat, or they want to read Dan Harmon's thing, and they just want to plug and play. And you can get the algorithm down, learn the code, learn the equation for like, you know, character starts off and places something normal, accepts a quest, heads out, like get all that stuff in your bones. But then like, let your heart sing. If you're being called to write a script, it's because there's something in your heart that's like, I got a story and I need to tell it. And that script is the one that people actually want to read. And the best ones are when you're just mowing through it, you know, like where you just can't stop turning the page. And you should feel that way about your own work. You'll feel it when you're reading your own stuff. Does it flow? That's why the action's so important. Like, don't feel like you got to put a bunch of your personality in the action if it's going to slow the flow of the reader. Only put personality. Like, I only make jokes in the action when I'm moving the story forward and the joke supports that. But it has to work on a lot of levels. Otherwise, people are like angry that you're wasting their time in the action. You know, it's like a lot of that stuff's happening when people read, which they don't always read. So if you're actually getting somebody to actually read your stuff, it's like, make it the stuff you really care about, that you did for you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, people say that a lot. They say, don't write what you think people want to read, write what you enjoy instead. But let's just break that down. At least I took a while and I thought about that for a very long time. And what it really means, I think, is make something that you yourself would enjoy ingesting. So like, write a script that you would enjoy reading. Like, if you hadn't written it, what type of script would it be that you'd be excited to pick up? That's the key to a lot. Like, when it's not even just about scripts, it's about art in general. Like, when I make something, I try to make things that even if I wasn't the one who made it, that I would be so excited to see it or to enjoy it. In fact, that's what this is right now. This is something, this whole thing, this podcast, the whole idea of the New York Alt Arts Academy is something that I really wish existed. And so we're bringing it into existence. Make things that you would enjoy. And so write what you would enjoy. And your script, your spec script should be something that is like a banner for your soul. Just like all the things that you love the most should be in that script. And that's what people respond to.
One time, a good friend of mine had just booked writing on SNL, and he was nervous. You know, it's like, okay, here we go. You're going to the big leagues. You know, we were like in our 20s, and he got this great advice that he passed on to me, and I'm passing it on. And it was from like an ex SNL head writer who said, like, write what you love, because then even if people don't like it or you get fired or all that stuff happens, at least it's because of something that you love, you know? Because if you write what you think they want and then you get rejected, you are always going to regret, man, I had this idea, or I would have done it like this, or I should have, you know. It's like, don't live with that stuff. Just do it your way. And then if people don't like it, just blow through them and go to the one who does like it. That's the when like the pickup artist comes in, where it's like the script is like, just get ready for a lot of no's. You only need one yes. You only need the right one, you know?
I'm trying to think about movies that I feel are pieces that people wrote where it was definitely like, it showed that this person really just cared or loved that thing that they wrote. I think maybe Groundhog's Day is an example of that, or Ghostbusters is an example of that. I think Ghostbusters was actually the product of a screenwriting class, where at the end of a screenwriting class, someone came out with Ghostbusters, which is amazing. Anyway, so...
True? Is that a true story?
Yeah, it's a true story, as far as I know. I mean,
cool.
I'm not gonna say for absolutely sure, but I know I've heard it more than once that some student was in a class and they came out with Ghostbusters, and that was like, and then their instructor took it to, I think, Ivan Reitman or somebody like that, because they were like, this is an exceptionally funny script, which is great.
Cool.
Anyway, so if we can just encapsulate
Oh, you know what?
we said. Go ahead.
Can I say one last thing? Because even though the art of a spec script of a TV show that already exists is kind of dead, you know, I just want to say that I still believe that there's room for it. If your heart still feels like, oh man, like I wish that I could write an episode of like Stranger Things, you know, like my friend, he just wrote this episode of Stranger Things, but if it had been the cast of the Golden Girls, if those universes had clashed, and like, that's a script that's never going to get made, you know, but he just followed his heart. And so many people love meeting with him just because it's so funny. They just want to meet with him, you know? So it's like, I just want to say that, like, yes, that's not really a thing anymore, but also
I think it's still a thing. I think it's still a thing. Every once in a while, scripts float around, spec scripts for shows. The ones that I'm talking about right now are their spec scripts for shows, but episodes that would never, ever exist. Like Seinfeld encounters zombies, or there was a spec script that a friend of mine was writing, which was about an episode of Frasier where Frasier was Me Too'd. So people write those because they're really interesting to read. They're fun to read. And that's part of what a spec script is all about. But even so, throw your heart into it. And then sometimes those things do become real things. I mean, we wouldn't have Pride and Prejudice and zombies if somebody hadn't thought, wouldn't it be funny if...
Yeah. So. And I'll also say, this is something Matt Besser used to say a lot. And I do think there is something to this too. Like in my brain, I also early in my career, I said like, okay, what's an idea that I really love, but that I could actually make, you know, because we are living in a world where, yeah, you've got the All Arts Academy. You could make an audio show. You could go make your own web series. Like there's really no reason people can't make stuff anymore. So that's always a fun exercise too, if you're going to write a spec, because then once you write something you like, you could go like, wow, now I can actually make this, you know?
Oh, and absolutely. In fact, we're going to have a friend on. He has made more than one movie with a budget of less than $500. And then he's gone through getting it up on Amazon. So like he's got multiple movies up on Amazon that you could watch right now if you have Amazon Prime, or you could buy it if you have Amazon Not So Prime. And but he's made those movies with a DSLR camera and $500 in New York, and has done it over and over again.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great the way technology has become an equalizer. So many people, if you are intelligent and willing to take the time to learn, you can make your own movie. In fact, that's exactly what we should do a whole class about how to make a closest to zero budget movie.
Hold on, let me write that down. Closest to zero budget movie. And then I have
Victor, I feel like if we did an episode about that, you could recap that whole conversation and put that into a rap song.
That'd be cool.
I mean, I could.
You can make educational rap songs.
What?
I have two questions.
Yes.
Okay. So the first question is, so a lot of those writing programs, like for example, like the Nickelodeon one that they just started, they ask for the spec scripts for older shows and stuff like that. So what is kind of your advice on writing for that? Do you still kind of want to write it like it's fictional, or would you still not fictional, like something that wouldn't exist in that world, or do you want to make that sound closer to the writers' voices when you're writing those kind of spec scripts?
Write something that you enjoy. If me personally, if I was writing if I was applying to a Nickelodeon writing program and they were like, hey, we want a spec script for Friends, I would write something so with Friends in their voices, but something that would happen outside of Friends. But that's what I would do. That doesn't mean that you would have to do that. I mean, you just have to go with what you enjoy writing. Write a version of that show that you actually enjoy writing, because it'll come across in your writing. The one reason I say that I would write something that wouldn't happen on Friends is because if they're telling everybody to do spec scripts of Friends and then your script is different in any way,
Gotcha.
it's probably a good thing. That's probably also why Drea was describing, like, she wrote an R-rated script but got meetings at Disney. Yeah,
Gotcha.
because most of the time people will submit to Disney with things they think Disney wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want to make sure it stands out from what everybody else is writing. Okay.
It's like, if you're just writing from your pure voice, you're never going to sound like anybody else, you know? And yeah, I mean, the other thing I just wanted to say, because the industry is changing and we're headed into a new world, but I think there is going to be a world where it's not okay for studios to ask writers to write spec scripts of episodes of TV shows that they're still making and submitting those. You know, it's like, that's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm just saying, like, do the research on the studios that you're looking at. Google their lawsuits, you know, because we were just living in a world where, you know, casting directors were starting to charge actors to audition, and they shut that down, you know. And then there's kind of this thing that's happening. The WGA is trying to fight this, of like studios and networks saying, hey, just pitch us spec scripts of these shows, and then we promise we're not going to air them. But like, you don't really, there's no way to protect yourself, you know. And it's great to like be seen and be read, but you know, just be conscious of where you're putting your energy. Make sure it's a company you want to be working for if you're going to go into those programs, you know?
Gotcha.
I actually worked at a job. I worked as a producer on a show where they had me pitch sketches to them. And then I think they forgot that I had pitched a particular sketch because I was hired on that show. But then I saw a sketch come across my desk, which was my sketch, not credited to me.
Wow.
Like a sketch that I had pitched. And I was like, hey, this is my sketch.
Yeah, and that stuff happens all the time. Zeitgeist stuff happens all the time. But there are some really good programs out there. So like, put your energy towards the kind that are the good ones is what I'm encouraging, you know.
Gotcha.
Agree. All right.
And I have one more question.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been just looking up different stuff that people ask to put in a writing package. What do y'all suggest, just like you already have in there? I know different places ask for different stuff. So what is like, I guess,
restate your question, please.
I'm trying to figure out how to ask. Okay, so what are some staples that are asked for in different writing packages? There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're talking like a late night or a panel or a comedy show, late night shows will often ask for monologue jokes. They'll ask for desk pieces. The desk piece is usually a recurring longer joke in the style of the show, or a piece that relies on other media, maybe other actors. They're usually called desk. They're like mini sketches where the host is sitting at a desk.
Car karaoke, right?
Yeah, car karaoke. Well, that's not a desk piece. But that's another type of thing that they do.
Technically, if you were submitting a packet to a late night show, they all, you know, that's like its own little bucket now. And sometimes they have different rooms. So they used to be like, you submit monologue jokes and sketches. And then some late night shows only want you to submit for sketches, or they only want you to submit for monologue, you know, because they're separate. So it really is different from every show. But yes, those are all.
Absolutely. I mean, I know people who write on the Tonight Show, and there's people who just write monologue jokes, and that's it. That's what they do all day. And there's other people who all they do is write sketches. Like but when it differs from show to show. I personally have a packet, like when people ask me to write for anything comedy and they want to see writing samples, my packet includes evergreen monologue jokes or giant event monologue jokes, like things that people don't forget, which is different from evergreen, because monologue jokes, you have to write them every night. And so an evergreen joke is a joke, obviously, that never gets old. But a big event joke is a joke that people don't forget about. Like if you write a joke about, I'm trying to think, I can only think of tragedies right now.
Me too.
So,
I was like, I don't want to say, but like stuff like that.
Independence Day.
Yeah, if you're writing a joke about, say Independence Day, that might be it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, or the day that the women's suffrage happened and women got the vote. That's a positive thing, okay? Even though you wouldn't be alive, but I think you get what I'm saying. A joke that is around in an event that people won't forget. I can only think of tragedies. I'm sure you can think of plenty.
The Earth Moon landing. When we all found out that Canada also has aliens, that was recent. That was pretty big news.
the day the government said they were aliens. I know that it happened. Did we forget? Why is everybody acting normal? Anyway,
walking around like aliens aren't here. None of it.
Then I also have like sketches, like SNL type sketches in my pitch packet, and I also have like essays, long essays, which are different than any of those writings, but just demonstrate that I can write and they're funny.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, it really depends on the TV show you're submitting for. They'll usually ask, but when you're asked for your basic sample, that's when you want to submit whatever your best foot forward is. And that might be like, I have a girlfriend who is a machine gun comedy writer for those like roast battle shows. So she's also an amazing script writer, but she has a half hour that's dope. She's got a 45-minute that's dope. And she's got like a couple of pages of just her top banger jokes. And so when she submits, she goes, whoa, this is what I'm bringing. But not every show wants all that. Some shows might just want her jokes. Some shows might just want, so it's really just, you gotta, whatever you think best represents you for the job at hand.
Gotcha.
Now, if you have any more questions out there, please put them in the comments, and then we will put the questions up and answer them. Other than that, we're going to start wrapping up. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Drea for coming on the show today. Thank you so much talking with us about Spec Scripts. It's always a good time with you, Drea. Look at that dance. Is that original? Thanks to Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze. As always, I am Dean Victor Varnado. You can find us out there at artsacademypodcast.com. You can find us on all social media at Alt Arts Academy. At Alt Arts Academy on all social media, and look us up at altartsacademy.com as well. You've all been wonderful. Thank you so much. You're very, very welcome. We had a thank you from online to Sunday. Thank you. All right. That's it, everybody.
Please visit altartsacademy.com.